Tonight we have our guest back, Steve Montrelli. But I wanted to get into your involvement with Don Schumacher as he was the driver and owner of the car. That was one of the big things I wanted to find out about.
Well, it was a three-car team. There was 3 cars, and there was a show car also. And Don ran the name on the car, the Stardust, which I think had to do with the Stardust in Las Vegas. I've never did ask the question, and I'm not sure that's the true story. He just called the Stardust. Later on, he had gotten a sponsor. There was a one of our race friends that was here on the West Coast. They got a deal with the Wonder Wagon, and they built a couple of whatever
I guess they were like
panel trucks,
bread trucks.
Yeah,
I think,
bread
if
trucks.
I recall, they had a unique paint job, if I recall.
Right, and they also, in the back window, they also had a bread rack that was at about a 45-degree angle, and there was bread sitting in there, loaves of bread. And I believe Kelly Brown drove one of them, and Don Rackman was involved in it. Well, anyways, whatever happened there, we ended up getting that sponsorship, and we tried to run the panel truck. And the first run on our Stardust chassis, it went off the track and hit the guardrail. First pass on the car. So we went back to the shop, which wasn't too far away from where we were racing that weekend. We put the Stardust body back on it and finished the race. And the next week we had a Stardust body painted Wonder Wagon, and it was a Barracuda, 72 Barracuda. So we followed the rest of that year with the Barracuda, and then we built a brand new car. John Patera, he built 3 special cars, and these were the new era. They were real low to the ground. They were 1972 or 3, not Monzas, but I lost it. Anyways, we built these 3 cars. Don Perdone bought one, Tom McEwen, and Don Schumacher. Well, we got the car. Schumacher came out here and ran the car like 3 weekends and Wednesday nights with Ed Pink. There was a motor in it, and I was running the Barracuda car back east. And they were trying to get the car ready to go to the Don Garlett's race in, I believe it was in Ohio or somewhere in that, where he was having his own race. So anyways, I got the car all done, and Schumacher would keep calling me every Wednesday or Thursday and say, yeah, we burned the motor up. We can't get the car to run. We can't get the car to run. We can't get the car to run. Finally, they bring the car back out to that race. We're there with the Barracuda, and we're also there with this new car. I say 3 of them were built by John Patera, which is not here today. They were basically the new era of race cars. They were real low to the ground, and they had a lot of aerodynamics to them. They had air going through the grill. They had air coming out of the back rear windows. There was openings everywhere. There was all kinds of. They had the fire windows in it, so you could see if you had a fire in the front firewall. They had the escape hatch on the top, so the driver could get out of the top of the car. These were all new things that were happening in that era, and this, like I say, around 72, 73. So we got this car, and Don had run it out here with Ed Pink at Orange County every Wednesday and Saturday. They put 1 motor in. In those days, we ran steel engines, so there was no aluminum engines at those days. So they go out there and run, and they'd hurt the engine, and they go back to Ed Pink's shop, they rebuild the motor, and they go back on Saturday, and then they go back on Wednesday. Well, this went on for about a month, and I was back east running the Barracuda, the Schumacher car, with one of our other drivers in it, fulfilling the races we had to do. So finally the car gets to the Don Garlett's race, and this was a big race. There's a lot of cars there, and so Don and them pulled in, I guess, about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. I had to get out there and open that trailer door and see this race car. And I opened this door, and I just said, wow, this thing looks like a banana. I mean, it was just so much streamlined versus the cars we'd been running. But I mean, it was a very good looking car.
I thought you were referring to banana in color.
No, well, it was yellow.
Was it? Okay.
Oh yeah, it was yellow. It was yellow. It was yellow and white. It was the Wonder Wagon colors. It said Wonder Wagon on it. And so we unloaded the car the next day, and I had 2 motors in the trailer ready to go in the car, but I said to Don, I says, well, we'll just run the motor you got in the car the first run, let's see what happens. So we made the first run, and the car goes out and runs exactly the same thing it did out here 6 races in a row, 6 times out testing. And so we took the motor apart. Don was very tired, so he had driven all the way back there. So he went and got into the sleeper and went to sleep, and I took the guys and I took the engine apart. We rebuilt the engine, and I said, there's no sense in us putting one of our engines in it. Let's just keep using this one that's in the car. So we rebuilt the engine, and then I kept looking, and the Barry Setzer car, which was a 72, 73 Vega also, but it was just a stock body like everybody used to run. So we're looking, and I'm looking and looking and looking. Well, the biggest difference in these 2 cars was the grill. This grill was open on this car, and it was letting air go through the grill and up in front of the injector. Well, I said, let's plug that up. So anyways, we plugged it up. Don gets out of the sleeper. He knows nothing about it. He gets in the car. We go to the starting line, and the thing goes out there and runs number 3 qualifier. Picks up 25 miles an hour. Just unbelievable. And a gentleman named John Asher from Carcraft Magazine, he was watching this whole thing, and he was a good friend of Schumacher's. Well, he tells that story, and he's told it a couple of times. And matter of fact, they got a hold of me one time that they did an article for the 50th anniversary at Indy, and they talked about that car, and they called and had me quote what I thought about that car. And I said that it was this, this, and this, and Don would not, because there was so much money involved in that car, he wouldn't let me go back to the Barracuda car. He says, we're going to run this thing the rest of the year, which we did. And then at the end of that year, he told me that his dad was retiring. He was going to take over the businesses. He was going to run about 3 races the next year. So he told me before we went to Indy, and then when we got out here, I rebuilt the guys, all of us. We rebuilt everything, and then he left and went on tour, and I opened Montrelli Racing Engines. I was done.
That's the next story I wanted to allude to. But I was going to ask about Schumacher. How many cars was he campaigning at the time that you were involved with him?
Well, we were running 3 cars, and there was a red one, a blue one, and a yellow one. And Bobby Rowe drove one. Raymond Beadle drove one, which is familiar, the Blue Max car. And then he drove the Blue Max car after that. But there was 3 of them. We took
Did you tune all 3 cars, or did you tune just the one car? Or
well, no, there was a crew chief on each car. I kind of oversaw made sure we had all the parts at the shop and everything. But there was a crew on every car, and like when we went to Indy the last time we ran the cars, when we left the shop, and I mean this was unheard of, when we left the shop with the 3 race cars that come back out here on the West Coast, we had 9, 10, 11, probably 12 complete engines. Some of them were apart that we would carry in the trailers, so in case we needed a part. But we brought everything we had out here to the West Coast because we were going to run like 5 races here over the wintertime.
Now, he was driving himself at the time? Don Schumacher was the driver of the car?
The car that I tuned, Don Schumacher drove.